Sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Hey everybody, welcome to Contra Thoughts. My name is Richard. Good morning, or good afternoon, or whenever you're watching this. We're going to be talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson coming up next. Yeah, so the Supreme Court Justice is nominated, a new one, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And we're going to be talking about her today, mainly the church's response to her, because I am a Christian, I'm a pastor, I'm a husband and a father, and I care about these things. I have an opinion about these things. That's why I'm making this, and you have an opinion about this too. So please feel free to comment, especially my more melanated brothers and sisters. And honestly, because we just watched MLK, right? And we know his, corruption in his personal life. There's no getting around that. But I just can't get past the fact that he stood for one thing, and the people who say they're standing with him today aren't. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me where I'm wrong. I know there were different streams of, of course, liberation theology, especially Black liberation theology, and other things that were popularized in the 60s and the 70s. They're coming back, and how critical theory and intersectionality and all the rest, how people are doing what they're doing and why they're doing it. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a history guy, and we can learn from history. I urge you to look at history, know history. We're going to look at a little bit of history, recent history, of course. And of course, we just looked at the speech from 1963. And it's an iconic speech. I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions of people have seen this. They know it, and it's great. And it is true in so many ways. It's interesting, though, that MLK said that he has a dream that his children will not be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Now, I don't know if that only is restricted to his children. I kind of don't think so. But we're looking at now such a showing of partiality with Brown Jackson, with Kamala Harris, with Obama, and many other people, that it just doesn't work.
Clearly, Obama brought in, peace and prosperity, right? No crime in Baltimore and Detroit, Chicago, D.C., right? New York City.
No, actually, he made all these things worse. He showed more partiality. Even cities where there was, yet they still don't get lifted up out of poverty. They still don't get lifted up, meaning the people, the least of these people in this community. And we see this now, and it's astounding that people are so stupid to think that Ketanji Brown Jackson is going to usher in some new utopian nonsense. But that's the leftist lie, and that's what I want you to get. First real main point is the leftists have a lie that there's utopia coming without Christ. We all know utopia is coming. We all know and have this sense that there's a massive brokenness, but very few people agree to how we're supposed to deal with that brokenness, how we're supposed to understand that messed upness of the world. Most people these days, even if they're not a liberation theologian, somebody who subscribes to extreme views of leftism, of collective property and everything else. Even if they don't do that, it's still like, well, yeah, but the government could do this. Well, if people would just obey the rules. Well, if people just no, it's because of Christ. Christ will usher in that new heavens and the new earth, not us. Now we are to work, but for him, not for our own ends. He is the ends, not us. Record, although apparently, she let off child pornographers and other just wicked things. Of course, she's totally pro killing babies. And yet you have these Christians, quote unquote, pastors, who say she's a sister. Now, are you talking about sister to the flesh or sister to the faith? It seems like they're saying to the faith, but I don't believe you. I mean, again, when you have these people who say, oh, this person's a Christian, this person, there's this lowest common denominator. And there's so many videos I want to do, y'all. I really do. And I just, the day goes and then I do something different. And I was going to do something different today, but I don't even need to tell you that necessarily, but I felt inclined to. There's a lot I want to talk about. And some of it, I think, is more important than other things, which is what's going on here. So we could talk about her injustices and Supreme Court case, Hawkins versus the United States, for example, that just happened a couple years ago. And, basically letting off with a slap on the wrist a child pornographer. Now, I didn't get in all the case. I did read more of it than just, what CNN or Fox News says. But regardless, the last 3 Supreme Court justices now have been approved by a narrow margin. Amy Coney Barrett was the last one, 52-48. Right here, 52-48. Neil Gorsuch, 54-45. And then Kavanaugh was actually 50. He was the lowest. But that was, what did he have? He had all the sex scandal stuff, right? Because it's either true or it's not. I believe most of it wasn't true. And, history will be found out whether it is or not. But it's astounding that the same types of allegations happen against many other leftist Democratic politicians, Joe Biden in particular, and nobody seems to care. Again, this is the duplicity of the left. And remember, the media is not at all unbiased, okay? They want to masquerade around and act like they are. They're not at all, at all, at all. They're completely 100% leftist. They're totally biased. 53. So she's in the low 50s also. All 4 Supreme Court justices have been nominated just in the last few years. That's crazy. All in the low 50s. Fascinatingly enough, Elena Kagan, 63-37 with Obama in 2010, and Sotomayor, 68, so even more. Okay. Now, she was kind of a big deal because she's Hispanic, she's a woman, et cetera, et cetera. But remember, the first Black Supreme Court justice was nominated by Bush. That's Clarence Thomas. And he actually barely skinned through at 52, also very low. And the first woman, Sandra Day O'Connor, by Reagan. So if we're going to talk about progress, it's the Democrats who were behind the times, right? It was Sarah Palin in 2008 who was the nominee for vice president. It took many years later for Hillary Clinton and then Kamala Harris. But even with John McCain, he didn't promise that he would pick a woman, but Biden did for Supreme VP and also Supreme Court. Trump didn't say that. I'm going to pick a woman. I'm going to take a woman, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the duplicity and the partiality especially is what is the issue. Stephen Breyer, also 87-9, came in. He's the highest one. And then Roberts, pretty high too, 78-22 with Bush, H.W. Bush. Samuel Alito, only 58-42, right? And so we can see, it's not a complete new thing, but it is a newer thing where the last several Supreme Court justices have all been barely by the skin of their teeth. Now, of course, Romney and the 2 other Rhino senators, one from Alaska, Collins and Murkowski, Alaska and Maine, they're not conservative at all. Shameful, but it is what it is. So Brown Jackson, so 48 Democrats. I thought there were more Democrats I thought they had 50, but I guess not. Independent 2, Bernie Sanders and some other guy, and 3 Republicans. All other Republicans voting no. So it shows again the strong divide, deep divide. Interestingly enough, we can look and see even at Senate.gov, probably a fairly reputable, 96-3 Ruth Bader Ginsburg got in. 96-3. David Soder, who just retired not that long ago, 90-9. And Anthony Kennedy, who retired very recently under Trump, 97-0. Scalia, 98-0. Sandra Day O'Connor, 99-0. All 3 of these people under Reagan. Now, as much as some people want to say, oh, Trump's the new Reagan and this and that, he's not. I think he's a mix of Reagan and Nixon and a little bit of, celebrity craziness. But, man, where is the unity, people? Where is the unity that we can see? 97, 98, and 99, all Republican. And then we even have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 96-3, just a few years later under Bill Clinton. Man, that's not going to happen, I don't think, anytime soon. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Part of it, the Senate, in their own hearings, have changed it. They've changed it from, it was a 2/3 to a 3/5 margin, so 66, and then you need 60, and now it's a bare majority. And they've gotten people through that way. Both Republicans and Democrats are to blame for that, changing their own rules. It really is shameful in many respects. We have these pastors, and this is what I want to get to, the meat of this. These pastors praising Ketanji Brown Jackson, not talking about the fact that she's totally for baby murder, not commenting on the fact that she's for the destruction of the family and same-sex marriage and letting off child pornographers and all the rest, supposedly. I mean, I didn't get into the cases. It could be sensationalization of it, probably is. But the point is the same, that her record doesn't seem to be very good. Again, I have not looked at it. You've probably not looked at it. And we've probably heard a lot of stuff from the media. But regardless, even if she's clean as can be and she's the most pro-life, the best woman on the planet for the job, which she's not, because, again, Biden said he would take off everyone else, showing partiality, just like he did with VP, and saying, I'm only going to appoint a woman of color. Well, we all have color, so that's stupid. It's just stupid. And the people who want to talk about, racism and this, and don't partiality, you're still talking about it. That old interview from years ago, Morgan Freeman, about racism. And he simply says, stop talking about it. And he says, look at me, I'm successful. And it wasn't because of this, wasn't because of that. It's because I worked hard, because of this, because of determination, etc. That's the America that MLK is talking about, as far as I can tell. That's my estimation. That's what it's been up until probably the last 10 to 15 years. With this Marxist division coming in and subverting people, parsing out people again, because we can't be parsed out by our economic background. If you're poor, you don't have to remain poor, right? You can play the lottery, start a business, go to college, whatever, and get rich. You can be wealthy. Likewise, you can be wealthy and fall down, lose all your money. But in communism, or in other places where there's like a caste system, like in India, still, it's not as prevalent, but it's still there. You're there, you're stuck. Your name's Smith, that's what it is. Your name's Henry, that's what it is, right? You're either going to get this, Rockefeller, right? You're going to get, and there is certain level people that do have a lot of money just because of their families. But you can work your way up and get out of it. So the only way for division and for the America, United States in particular, to fall, the West to fall, is for us to be divided. That's it. They, whoever they are, I don't care whoever they are, there is a they, whatever you want to name, you want to put on them. They want division. They want partiality. They want us to be easily controlled. Don't fall for it, people. Especially those of us who are Christians. Christ is our King. And I share so much more in common with someone who loves Christ, regardless of what he or she looks like. Exponentially more. And yet we have pastors, and I looked for Amy Coney Barrett in particular, because she was the last one. I don't know about Gorsuch or Kavanaugh. But the Democrats who scream about religious freedom and church and state and separation of church and state, at least people that might look like me who are, diehard agnostic atheist people, at the same time turn a blind eye when people do things like it does this.
The Spirit of God descended on that Senate hearing and empowered and enfolded Senator Booker. And I'm just crazy enough to believe that God blurred out his pages and said, brother, you're not going to ask no questions, but I put you here in this moment to encourage this sister who is standing for truth and justice and righteousness.
Little clip there at the end. That from Doctrinal Watchdog. Yes, you're crazy, man. You want to believe that, fine, but did that happen? Is Cory Booker, that Cory Booker, and we know who he is, and we'll look at here in a second. If anyone did this with Amy Coney Barrett, any church, if I did this, not only would I be wrong, because, well, it's just nonsense, and it doesn't need to be done from the pulpit. Now, you want to talk about justice and the murder of the unborn, for example? Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's a sin. That's wickedness, right? Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. God is against those who shed innocent blood. Proverbs 7, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Does this man not know what this woman supports? Oh, she's a sister. Let's support her. He's not going to ask any questions. Booker, is just going to stand there and just oogle and ogle, which is exactly what he does.
And I start getting full of emotion. I'm jogging this morning, and I'm at the end of the block I live on. And I get terrified because I put my music on loud when I'm jogging, trying to block out the noise of the heart attack I'm having. And this woman comes up on me, practically tackles me, an African-American woman. And the look on her eyes, she just wanted to touch me because I'm sitting so close to you, and tell me what it meant to her to watch you sitting where you're sitting. And you did not get there because of some left-wing agenda. You didn't get here because of some dark money groups. You got here how every Black woman in America who's gotten anywhere has done. But
okay, no, and no. Not every Black woman gets picked because she's Black and a woman. Okay, that's exactly what Biden did. He ruled out everybody else, and he said, we're going to run a race just for you because you can't hang by yourself. You're not qualified by yourself. Cory Booker should be utterly ashamed of himself. Emotional, like he's seeing Santa Claus for the first time, or he hasn't seen his grandmother in years. It's disgusting. If any Republican, which I'm sure they have, I'm not going to look at it because of time, but if any Republican does this, this is stupid and dumb. You're not being professional at all. You're a politician. You're a senator, one of the elite 100 elected officials to one of the highest offices. Oh, this story totally sounds made up, by the way, but that's another conversation. She wanted to touch me, just like Jesus, the woman wanted to touch Jesus's cloak, right, and be healed. Is that what it is, Cory? And Cory Booker, of course, claims to be a Christian. He's clearly not. I mean, again, if you're murdering unborn children and you're fine with it, you're not a Christian, okay? You're not a Christian. There is almost zero times where the baby is endangering the mother and therefore, okay, an abortion. Maybe and only maybe, let's talk about those times. Not the time you got knocked up accidentally, not the time you got knocked up on purpose, not the time that you're just philandering and hanging out and, oh, you know what? This is my 5th, 10th, 15th boyfriend, and I just want to have, this is going to be too complicated. I don't want to do that, more money. No, we're murdering babies, people. I don't know how much more direct we need to be. It's not a choice. It's not an option. It's not making space. We're murdering children. And if you defend that, you're not a Christian. Period. You're not a follower of Christ. And I will die on that hill. Lastly,
rides his way into a city
to die for his enemies. A leader who enters a city to serve and not dominate. A carpenter from Nazareth who builds tables of inclusion. So we should all have the courage as we seek to go to God in prayer to be more like Jesus, to get off our high horses and be like Jesus. But this morning, when we pray for one another and the names on this list, we also have to give God thanks and praise this morning for another triumphal entry this week. Can we thank God for the triumphal entry of Ketanji Brown Jackson?
Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, we can do a little bit better than that.
Standing ovation for a baby murderer. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? Why, my brothers and sisters, more melanated brothers and sisters, why, please comment, why do black churches do this? Now, I see the leftist white churches, so-called do this too. To a degree, but very, very small. I didn't see any, and I didn't look at every single video. Please share and tell me. I didn't see any people that look like me praising Brown Jackson. Oh, she's this. She's this. We did this with Obama. Obama didn't do anything. He actually made things worse for people. All people. He brought in further division, further partiality. Okay, Christ is the king. Jesus is the Lord. He is the one who came to seek and to save the lost. He is the one who came for wicked sinners, hell-bound sinners, not Ketanji Brown Jackson. Your own comparison is just on the razor's edge of blasphemy. And yet standing ovation. Okay. And you're going to say, somebody might watch this at some point in the future, whenever, you're just racist. Yeah, I'm just racist. That is so old. Don't save your keystrokes. These people are actually the racist ones, but really what they're doing is partiality, because racism isn't in the Bible. Partiality is. The sin of partiality. But Jesus came into the world. This week, as I record this, is Resurrection Week. Easter is on Sunday. Triumphal entry, which was just this clip from Palm Sunday. No, Ketanji Brown Jackson's not going to do anything different but usher in further left-wing policies. That's what. And that's what the court has been doing for about 100 years or so after Woodrow Wilson. There were some victories, but most of it's a massive leftward tilt. Because they can't actually have the legislation be passed through Congress. They do it through the courts. We saw this with Obergefell. We saw this through Roe v. Wade. We've seen this through many other wicked, heinous Supreme Court decisions. Jesus came into the world to die for sinners, to resurrect, defeating both sin and death. If you don't know Christ, that's the important thing. Because Ketanji Brown Jackson, she might do everything right. But here's the thing, there's 8 other people that might thwart her, and the whole population, and anybody and everybody else. Also, she's not omniscient. She's not all-powerful. She doesn't know everything. She can't adjudicate everything. So even if her record is stellar, which it's not at all, but even if it was, these people are once again putting their hope in chariots, in tanks, in people, in horses, in women and men, and saying, oh, Christians no less. No, we should not be thankful to God that a baby murderer is now sitting on the Supreme Court. Or at least someone who strongly advocates baby murder and child pornography and those types of actions. Y'all have a good day. Be against the world and for the world.